Let me turn that on, hang on. I'd like to call to order the Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting for June 9th, 2022. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices, and for those who are attending virtually, mute your microphones while not speaking. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for invocation and pledge allegiance.
Do we even have a quorum?
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you please call for the roll?
Scott Black. Mayor Scott Tremblay. Councilman Matt Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Ron Oakley.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Nick?
Commissioner Catherine Starkey.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Here.
And Chairman Lance Smith.
Thank you. Now's the time for call for public input.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Do we have a quorum?
We did.
Okay, 5 makes a quorum? Okay. Good.
Thank goodness. So now it's call for public input. Does anyone wish to address the board? Not seeing anyone. We'll move on. Need to get in the meeting packet are the meeting minutes from the April 14th MPO board meeting. Are there any revisions to the minutes?
Move to approve?
Second.
Call the question, call the vote.
Call the vote.
Yep.
You got
Is it
a
roll
motion,
call?
a second.
I don't
We
think
have
it's roll call.
No, it's just for vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. MPO Advisory Committee reports. We have 3 MPO Advisory Committee reports on the agenda. These items are for information only, no action is required. Number 1 is Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee report. Dr. Stovall.
I'll be doing the report for Dr. Stovall. Tina Russo, Active Transportation Planner for Pasco MPO. We met on May 25th at the Pasco Utilities Building. We did not have a quorum. The good news is this is very rarely for us that we didn't have a quorum. So we were pleased to be joined by a potential new member who you're going to vote in today, Daisha Mitchell, who runs the Spoke Bike Store alongside the Hardy Trail in Dade City. We were also happy to greet the new Dade City Commissioner, Ann Constantino, who has an interest in bike ped issues. The committee heard a report on the draft MPO Transportation TIP improvement program for the upcoming year. We are pleased to see commitment to bike ped issues represented in the plan. The committee also reviewed the priority projects list and affirmed the position taken at our previous meeting to support the ranking that was produced via the new prioritization process. There was a productive discussion with Sam Bennett about current projects. We discussed trail signage and noted that signage of the new Coastal Anclote Trail provided a good model. Finally, we discussed bike ped safety issues, data, and continue want to improve safety as projects move forward or ahead. We particularly discussed addition of safety improvements such as shoulder widening during resurfacing projects.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Technical Advisory Committee and Citizens Advisory. Mr.
We have
Carl?
to approve that? My book says we approve.
Oh, we have to approve it?
Is that for a vote?
There's no
Book
action
said-
required.
No vote is required. for
It
the
says
committee.
recommendation approved. My book.
Oh,
That was action item number 1. Are we still doing the advisory committee?
We're on the MPO Advisory Committee report.
Okay.
I apologize if we have a misprint in there.
Okay, I got it.
The Citizens Advisory Committee met on June 1st And during the discussion of potential projects, we were informed that there may be a freshwater spring at the area around Hicks Road, where a potential new facility could go in to connect Hicks Road north to south. So that may be something we'll want to look at. And then also, one of the committee members did ask that we as staff make a recommendation to fill some of the vacant CAC positions. So we'll be reaching out to members individually who have some vacancies available. Otherwise, they saw your agenda and they did recommend approval of the items you'll be seeing today. The Technical Advisory Committee met on Monday, and they brought up a couple of items during their roundtable area or section of the agenda. State Road 54 east towards Handcart. They're looking at those projects in that area just due to development in the area. And then also looking at potentially in Zephyr Hills, a roundabout at the intersection of Pretty Pond and Wire Road. There's also an interest in Zephyr Hills for a signalized crosswalk on the existing portion of Dairy Road, where a new trail is going in on 54 coming east from I-75. So they also recommended approval of the action items you'll be looking at today. So are there any questions, please?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Carl, question on Hicks Road. Would you talk about that again?
Certainly. One of the committee members recalls that there is a freshwater spring in that area where the future Hicks Road would go if we look at moving that project forward. Wanted us to be aware of that so that we could avoid it and have that planned in any sort of a planning study we would do, if that would be something the board wishes to go forward with, so that we could plan around it and not have a surprise later in the project development process.
Okay.
So-
So with the abutting landowner, they're trying to put an industrial park that's up there, so that roadway is critical to them to make that extension.
Yes.
There's land that you can move around it, because frankly, the way the right-of-way is designed is going through a low area, but it's not a spring till I know of. On the right side of the abutting property, there is a spring high and across,
Okay.
but it's, probably like, I don't know, half a mile away, quarter mile away, so it's on the other side of the whole property. That area there has been dug out. It used to be an old C&D landfill, so some of the fill was dug out from one side to the other. The abutting landowner can actually move dirt over, and frankly, I think we should be able to take more stuff. So we can work that roadway. They'll work with us, so, matter of fact, we're meeting with them at 3 o'clock today. If you would, maybe at 3 o'clock today, you can even join in that meeting. We'll talk about that specific subject, and they can work with us to get the land and design it how we need it. But I think getting the roadway designed is critical, so.
Yeah,
thank
they
you.
wanted to make sure we were aware of that potential hazard so that we could design around it. And again, so we didn't have an ugly surprise when we got to a later stage of the project.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's a spring there. It's just all been dug out along the
That's
way, but
good.
we'll take a look.
Was it, Mr. Chairman, is that spring on that person's property that
Yeah,
you're
so
talking
it's-
about?
Yeah, it shouldn't even affect this, but again, there were some areas dug out, but really, dirt bikes are riding in like crazy. If you look at the aerials, there's nothing showing any water on that side, so it may not be accurate
Okay.
information you got.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. All right, we have 3 MPO action items on the regular agenda. These items will be approved by roll call vote. Once a motion is made on the item, the board member who makes the motion will state his or her name, and who seconds the motion will state his or her name. First up is approval of the final MPO Transportation Improvement Program TIP for state fiscal years 2023 through 2027. Mr. Ferry?
Good morning. At the April board meeting, the staff presented to you a copy of the draft version of the Transportation Improvement Program. And since that meeting, the TIP document has been finalized and it has been made ready for adoption. The only significant change between the draft TIP and this final TIP document consists of additional funding, which has been added for 2 major highway widening projects on US 98 using federal funding. Between development of the draft TIP and this final TIP, total project funding increased to $618.9 million for an overall funding increase of 69% over current TIP funding. And again, the MPO and the county is very grateful to the Florida DOT for their strong commitment and partnership with Pasco County. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yeah, I have some too. I saw it for Jack.
Okay. So on previous list, before we had the new calculations with the priorities getting ranked, Zimmerman, which is a very low-income area, Zimmerman's a road that connects Ranch Road to 52, so it's a pretty well-traveled road. There's a bunch of schools in the area. There's a school in the area as well where people they don't have sidewalks in the area, so it would be very beneficial to put the sidewalk project in there. Carl and Joe Marina from Withlacoochee actually went out on site to look at what's the best way to design that road, because we could move the roadway away from the homes, make the sidewalk along there. But that project is listed still back pretty far. And then on Ranch Road, it's just listed as Ranch Road 2. Ranch Road 1 got taken off the list. I didn't think we needed to separate Ranch Road 1 and 2 anyway. It doesn't make sense. The roadway just extends a little bit further down to Ponderosa where it was supposed to go from the get-go. How it got shortened, came up with the last meeting showing up that it was ended at Hanks Road. So you've made some adjustments here on the map. Has everybody seen the map with the red line stuff? Okay. Next one, all right. All right, I'll pass on.
That's number 2?
Yeah, that's number two.
Okay. So I have a question. Can I ask my question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on page 24, it says 22 unfunded multimodal transportation priority projects. What, so they're all unfunded, but, is that the right word?
Is that in the draft, is that in the final TIP document or the final LOP? I think you might be looking at the LOP.
It says 2022 Pasco County MPO list of priority projects.
That's the next item on the agenda.
I'm on tab 1. So,
We're ahead
in
of
my
our
book,
time.
so adoption of the final Pasco MPO tip. Do we have anything on that then? What? I don't know why my book is wrong. Now I don't know what I'm looking at. Can we get it up on the screen here, what we're looking at? Because,
Hey, Commissioner
I have
Starkey,
it under number
my book shows the same
1.
way.
what?
My book shows the same way.
Yeah,
too.
and then I think I have it again under number 2, so I'm confused, and I don't want to vote until I know what I'm voting on. So if I don't have the list, I can't tell you what I'm voting on.
Understood.
So on page 23, this is what we have on page 23 under item 1. Is that what you have?
Yeah, I got that.
And then let me go to tab 2.
In that same document.
Then I think I see the same thing.
Tab 2 is the adoption of
So then page 20, page
Oh.
112 is the same thing. So
If I may, in the TIP document, we include the list of project priorities that were submitted last year to then influence the TIP. And then the next action item today will be the approval of the list of project priorities. And we request money from DOT for projects that will show up in July 1 of 2023.
Okay, well,
My apologies, yes, it's included in
read
both
this.
documents.
I need some magnifiers, big time. But if we could,
Just
huh? Can I see your book?
Page 23, I don't have any.
I think I don't know why. I think I
better.
found it on page 55. Is that what we're looking at, page 55? I'm sorry, I would have been looking at this earlier today, but I was traipsing in the woods with staff. So is this what we're voting on right now?
For sake of clarification, this final TIP document is based upon the project priorities that were adopted by this board last July. Even though the final TIP document includes the current list of project priorities for 2022, but this document, this final TIP document, is based upon priorities again, that were adopted by the board last July, and then they were then forwarded to the Florida DOT, and they incorporated those priorities into the draft work program, which then becomes our list of projects for this 5-year TIP document.
So in July, are we voting on something, a new list like this was from last year?
Well, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, it was last June, but yeah, that's the next item on the agenda.
That's number 2.
Yes, ma'am,
Step two.
and Tina will be presenting that.
Okay, so we're just approving what we approved last year,
Yes, ma'am,
moving the money forward or whatever.
correct.
Gosh, I've been doing this for 10 years. You'd think we'd figure this out. So, and then, I don't know, it's confusing the way it's in my book.
It is.
And as I said, the list of projects that were provided to you in April are largely unchanged with the addition of a few minor additions, but the 2 major additions were two widening projects on US 98.
Okay, yeah, that's the next tab I get, next thing. So I guess, we had been told that the governor found some money for a rural road project, a while ago. Is this in addition to that rural road money the governor found? This new money?
I think this is the money.
Oh, this is that money?
It's
confusing, isn't it?
I can't say definitively, but I believe that was the intent, was to fund rural arterials,
Yeah.
especially those that handle a lot of freight traffic.
Yes.
And the intent was to take to ease some of the freight congestion on I-4 and 75 and put it over on 98.
Okay, so this is that project that we learned about
This is the widening
last
of
year.
98.
Yes.
So
This is the
there's
one
not
between Polk
additional-
County line and US 301.
So this is not additional money, this is implementing that money that they told us about last year.
This is
Am I
money that
correct?
they sent a message that we
Yeah.
would be.
This
voting
is
on.
this is the Recovery Act money that was made available to the state
Okay,
as part of the COVID-19 relief package.
and that's the only change? You said there were
The-
2.
Well, there was two, there's 2 separate projects, but they're both adjoining, they're both on US 98.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'm good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to make a suggestion for the staff as well, when looking this document over, for example, on page 64, you've got a chart that's in, even with the best readers in the world, you
Yeah,
can't read
there's
it.
no way.
So some of them were marginal, but those ones right there, I mean, you can take a look at what you're printing. There's no way someone can read that. So we need to make sure we could make that a little bit bigger. If you could shrink the map, but
Yes, sir.
the chart should be able to correspond. You can actually see what you're reading.
We'll work to improve that.
I don't even think with a magnifying glass,
You couldn't.
no.
Okay.
I could take a picture and then blow it up.
Yeah, so we'll move approval of last year, June's list.
What's your name?
Jack Mariano.
I second it, Ron Oakley.
Good roll call vote.
Yes.
Just for quick clarification, this is Jensen Hackett from the Department of Transportation. Your TIP document is a federal requirement document. It goes for the next 5 years of projects. These are all projects that are federally funded. So everything in your document, in that TIP document, is already projects that are funded. As part of the MPO and what they like to do, they will put in the list of priority projects that you guys will be voting on next, on number 2. In that document, so that way the feds can see them. So that's why that is inside of the TIP document, but everything that's in the TIP document currently is everything that has been federally funded as part of the next 5-year period for the MPO. So that's what the TIP document is that you're voting on currently.
So it has the unfunded plus the funded in the TIP document.
Just the priority projects that you guys are going to be voting on to receive funding is what that list of priority project is. But
And
they
it's-
put it in there just for clarification so that when the feds and the state receive this, they can see what those project priorities are that you guys are requesting for next year's CIP.
Okay, so that does beg a question. If we're approving number 1, does that mean we're approving the unfunded list, or is that just for information only? Because I think we're voting on that in the next action item under tab 2.
Correct, and I think that's, the MPO decided, like I said, to put that in there. But as far as I know, on the agenda, you guys are voting for the priority list on the next topic. But if there are any changes to that, obviously the MPO can make those changes to the priority list that are inside of the TIP document before that's submitted federally.
That seems kind of weird, to put it in one, have us vote on one, and then put it in two, and then maybe we're going to talk about it. So I just want to make sure that we didn't approve it before we talked about it. I think Commissioner Mariano is understanding what I'm trying to say.
I think you're right on the money, and I think that's how it's going to run. It's kind of a crazy setup to vote on last year's topic, and then all of a sudden we're going to bring back and then vote on this year's topic.
If I may,
Maybe we've done
from
it
my,
every year.
if I may, from my experience of working for Federal Highway Administration, when they review the TIP document, they'll want to see that the TIP is coming from a list of project priorities that have come from you, the MPO board, as part of their review of that overall document. And so that's why it is included in the document. That list, though, that you're seeing is from last year. And then this year, in a few minutes, we'll be approving a new list that will be in the TIP you'll see next year.
Next year, okay. So is this one in tab 1 exactly like the one in tab 2? No, okay.
So,
There you go.
thank you. So page 112, 113, 114, 15, those are all of the projects that we are approving to accept funding for.
That will be our next action item in which we are requesting funding from Florida DOT.
It is?
No, that's this list.
No, that's, well, okay. I think I just kind of touched on that one. The list in,
Okay.
the unfunded list in tab 1 list is different than the unfunded list in tab 2. They look similar at first glance, but they're going to tell us. Because I have some questions about,
They're bringing up the project list.
Thank you.
The list of project priorities or the TIP?
The TIP project list.
41.
the one on page 24?
41.
Well, 41.
Yeah, that's the same page that's on the screen right now.
Funny, I go from page 30 to page 55.
Begin
so
on
I don't
page
have
30.
page.
Page 35 in your packet is the beginning of the final TIP project list, and that's,
I don't have that. I go from page 30 to page 55.
oh,
Do you have a page? Are we under tab 1?
I don't know, but this is a copy, if you'd like to use that.
Yeah, but I can't read that, sadly.
Oh, that's the packet that's under your folder on the
Oh, there's something new here?
Thick one, yeah,
This thing?
yeah, that one.
Okay, I now have a page 35.
Okay. Page 35 begins the list of funded projects for the next 5 fiscal years for Pasco County. This includes all federally funded projects and any other projects of regional significance in Pasco County. And this is the list that is essentially the essence of the heart of the TIP document. This is the final project list.
Well, I can't tell you what any of that is.
This list,
Congestion
this is,
mitigation, AQ, I have no idea what that is.
this is a list of all highway, bicycle, pedestrian, aviation, and transit projects. Basically, all transportation projects
From up there, okay.
that will be funded for the next 5 years using federal funding or our regionally significant projects is in this list.
Okay, so I see. What we really care about is what's in the yellow highlighted.
Yes,
Because I don't know
ma'am.
what all that stuff
That's
is
correct.
below. So that's our widening of 52. Yay.
Yes.
Okay, and then the
It's all
next
in
one
there.
is 50, also 52. Is everything in 52 funded now?
I believe it is.
That's great.
52 is funded, all the segments have activity on them or have been completed. The last segment has right-of-way funding in there. The construction will occur after the right-of-way, of course, and that is in a year that is beyond the time frame of our TIP.
Oh, gee.
And then also 301 from SR 39 to
bottleneck.
state, CR 54 is funded.
Can't we call 52 a rural road and
That
get some
one?
of that?
Yes.
Okay. I've got money over there. I have to wait 5 years to finish that little part of 52?
All right.
So you can see on this list here, it shows that preliminary engineering as well as right-of-way funding are shown as having funds on them. And then the environmental aspect is also funded, as you can see.
And so this 301 stuff, is that the 98, that's the 290?
That's carried
98,
52
301.
on out to hit 98.
And then on page 39, that's
Wish
the
they
new
would put
project
the money
that
number over
they're
there.
going to fund as well, the I-75, 275 from County Line to State Road 56. So those are already included on this new packet.
Correct.
So
And
this
that's
50,
from our current list.
okay, so 54 and 41, which is right, I just saw it there, right there. 4191822. Is there any money in there?
Yes, that is for right-of-way acquisition.
But have we picked a design yet?
No, ma'am. But the FDOT is moving forward with right-of-way acquisition.
Okay,
So everything that you guys are looking at on all these pages from 35 to, I think it's like 60-something, all of this is part of any project that is currently funded in the TIP. So what I was saying earlier, so that can be any phase. It can be one phase, it could be all phases of the project, depending on how much has been funded. So in terms of the question for 41 and 54, what we have funded in our work program is actually a little bit of advanced acquisition right-of-way, but also the design phase. So what you're seeing there on the very bottom of that screen, that's design being funded in 23 and 24. I don't want to steal too much of Carl's thunder,
Okay.
but we are going to come back to you guys at your August meeting with some of the alternatives that are part of that design process,
Okay.
and we will talk to you guys about that then. But that's what you're seeing specifically for that project. So any of this information, I know that you guys were looking at some of the codes and going, what in the world is this? That's just the codes that are work program fund codes as part of the FDOT process. And so everything you're seeing in here is specific phases of these projects that are being funded.
okay. Well, it's exciting to see something happen in there.
Question?
Any more questions?
No, it's just, I'm calling the question. We have
Okay.
a motion and a second.
Oh.
We ain't going any further.
Okay,
Let me just recognize that Mayor Tremblay is in attendance also for roll call.
Thank you.
is this
So
a
we have
roll
a
call
first and
vote?
a second, we have a roll call vote?
Scott Black. Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy.
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now to the big one, obviously, number 2.
This could be
MPO list of priorities, Mr. Carl.
Thank you very much. So each year, small children write a letter to Santa saying how good they've been, and then also including a list of toys they would like to get. As grown-ups, we get to do that with our list of project priorities, in which we put together a list and share it with Florida DOT saying, these are the things we'd like to have you fund. At your place today, you'll see there's a copy of it separate from your meeting packet. Has the Pasco logo in color. There is another one that is in black and white. I'll start with the one that is shown in color, the logo on the front. You'll notice on the first page, there are 2 projects tied for number 1. One of them is redlined. Project number 8 is redlined, and projects 12A and 12B are redlined. That is because Florida DOT has generously funded those projects, and we no longer need to ask for money for them. It's been provided. So the black and white copy is the cleaned up version.
Wait, are you saying DOT is funding our intersection?
They have funded
Whatever the county
So-
line, the interchange improvement?
So the first project is I-75 from County Line Road to State Route 56, and it's an interchange improvement, and they are funding it. So the takeaway from this is, this list does work, because DOT does pull projects off of here and funds them for us.
Very nice.
So I think we all should say thank you to Florida DOT, and then perhaps if I could have an approval of the updated list, and we can ask for money, then the request here is what will then influence what we see in the tip that we will approve next summer.
Motion to approve with
No,
discussion.
discussion.
Yeah, I have
Whoa,
Oh,
I have a
with
question.
discussion.
On number 3.
I thought we were just voting.
Number 3?
No, well, it's now number 2. And I think we're going to stop calling it tower. I think we're going to call it rangeland, at least through part of it. I think that the names may change as it, it might be rangeland, Bexley, but I asked my husband where that name tower came from, and he said a long time ago there was a tower. And so the family just called it tower. But that is literally rangeland, and I think we should keep that name, at least to Suncoast. And then I think once it goes over the Suncoast, it becomes Bexley, right?
So I can just quickly comment on the naming. When we first did this LOP, it was 6 months ago, and I know we're going to probably name these trail segments specific, like Trinity Trail, so those name changes will.
Oh, I was thinking of the road.
Yeah.
No, the trail should always be Orange Belt, right?
So the naming came back from 6 months ago, so we'll update those names and segments as we need to as well.
Okay, so this is the trail and not the road. So let me ask you a question, because it should be the Orange Belt Trail. But it says Sun Trail application submitted in 2019, so that's 4 years ago. Did we not submit it again?
So that application, because Sun Trail funding kind of took a break last year, so that application is still good, that we put in for that piece, which is the connection basically from Suncoast to Tower Road to Bexley. So that application's still good with Sun Trail funding, just as the application for the overpass of 54 for Starkey Gap is still good, even though they're.
So we call it a 2019 application?
Yes,
That's the correct?
It's still good.
Okay, I just wondered if we did it 4 years ago and we didn't do it again since, or,
It's still
But
good
it's still good.
with Sun Trail.
okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Mr. Tremblay?
I had a quick question. Some of these items that were funded are fairly far down on the list, number 8 and then 12A and B. Do those move up the list once they're funded because of the funding?
What that will do is, because it's vacated that position, it will push everything else up on the list.
Okay.
And so, yes, it will advance those other projects.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Thank you.
Yes. And
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I had another question, and I always,
Mr. Starkey, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I get confused if it's a MPO question or a Pasco County question. And that's Osteen. Connecting that little strip of Osteen north of,
is this the segment?
south of Ridge.
Is this the segment we spoke of last meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Given the nature of that road, and it would be a local road, so that would not be eligible for federal funds. So it falls into a category below the scope of this list.
Okay.
So, yes.
And the community had fought 20 years ago against it, and they're still in opposition.
Yeah, so it still needs to be connected. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, good, Commissioner.
So, now I'll go back to Zimmerman, which was taken off the list as Ranch Road was taken off the list to go to other ways to fund
Very
it.
few.
And they all come back
Screw the rest.
unfunded. Now they're taking a step way back down the list again. And these roads have been on the list for like 16 years, 18 years almost. Having said that, even Ranch Road wasn't done properly, where it was supposed to go all the way from US 19 all the way to Ponderosa. And we found out recently that Hanks Road is where it ended, and we needed to finish it through. So now you've got it where Ranch Road is just listed on the list or off the list? And Zimmerman's off the list completely.
No, Zimmerman's there.
So on the transportation alternative
did
list,
not
which is
qualify.
towards the back of the project priority list, your Ranch Road, the Ranch Road facility that you're
That's Ranch Road
speaking of
2.
is shown there, and Zimmerman Road is shown on there.
Look at this new list you just gave us, so hang on.
Here, I can give you my copy.
Well, I got this, it should be the same one. So, yeah, it shows unfunded.
That is correct.
All right, so that's what I'm saying. So it's off the list where it's numbered, where it was in order before. Now it's not even on the list of having a number. Now it's just got a U next to it, means by taking it off the list, now it doesn't go back on the list where it should have been before,
So
where it
we
was
have the,
before.
we have the list at the front that is for funding of any fund category. Further back, we have the list of Transportation Alternative Program, which is a specific funding category, and Ranch Road is shown on there. It sounds like you would like to have that included in the general list.
And I want to see it all as one road, not just, I don't want to do it in two sections either, just do the whole thing. But the second section, those of you who don't know, from Hanks Road all the way over, is going mostly just into a civic association property, I believe, right alongside the roadway. There's not even any right-of-way needed other than having them sign off for it to get a trail going through. So,
Well, I don't know, I don't know what you're asking. You're asking
I want to get them both up on the list. And Ranch Road should just be one.
And you're talking about
should be up
Zimmerman
high.
Road too, right?
What's
You're
that?
talking about Zimmerman Road too, right?
Zimmerman as well, yes,
Right.
both of them. I mean, they were taken off the list because they're going to go to Sidewalk for Schools program, and guess what? They didn't get funded. So now we just got the new thing with the school board, now you got to go 2 miles outside of 2 miles, you're going to not get bused. Now I get kids walking in the street even further with the situations. It's a dangerous situation. What we don't want to see is a kid get run over like we saw many, many years ago. So I want to make sure these things go back up to the positions that they were in before. And then they should have moved up from the last cycle with things going up to be even higher than that.
And do we have a list of the schools that need sidewalks?
Well, that's every school,
Well, not every school.
pretty much. With this new thing, think of it, they went from 1 mile to 2 miles now. I bet you every school's got a list.
Well, I know Calusa and Chasko, and all of them have sidewalks, but
We do not have a comprehensive list at this time. There is a school safety committee that has been looking at specific issues at specific schools. But that is something that we have internally talked about. Oh, I'm sorry, Tina Russo.
because by adding the sidewalks to specific schools, they wouldn't be an unsafe route to school, and then the kids would be able to walk, and then all the parents don't have to drive and create additional congestion and traffic to those school
Yeah, they
areas.
still drive them.
Yeah, and I'm getting ready to meet with USF, and there's some concerns about Mitchell and Little, about some crossings. So we're meeting internally with several USF and looking at different options like you were talking about as well. Just a little bit of information on Ranch Road. That original Ranch Road that goes to Hanks is funded up to that point for a TA. And again, these transportation alternative funds, there is no ranking. They're either unfunded because we're working through that ranking process as we speak now for sidewalks. Sidewalks don't go on that table one separate bucket list. Also, Ranch Road, we're looking at that piece from Hanks to Ponderosa. We think we have a good alternative. We don't want to take away money that we have for that piece that we're
No,
going to do
I
right
don't
now. So let us look at it, other funding options for that piece and getting it to Ponderosa. But we're looking at that right now, and we think we have some alternatives. We did that piece because we can get it to Hanks with funding now,
Okay.
and that's why it was done like that.
All right, so right
And
now.
we're
so
looking
it's-
at it.
So it's funded. All right, so
To
no on the
Hanks.
list of the show it's funded. I saw it
To
unfunded.
Hanks. It's on the
Okay.
list.
What about the
I have a
Zimmerman Road?
question.
What about Zimmerman?
Where the heck is Hanks?
Park can actually speak to
Okay.
Zimmerman a little bit.
So I reached out to county engineering, and we're working up a sketch plan for this. And then the next step is we'll talk with the power company. There is a large light pole or power pole there that would likely need to be relocated, just looking at it as a field observation. We want to get a cost estimate on that and get a rough estimate of the facility cost, and then we can go forward. But I am in talks, I've talked with engineering about this, and we're working together. So, county engineering, I should say, I apologize. So we're moving that forward by getting some
question.
numbers for that.
Mr. Starkey?
The decubulus to Ridge, or, yeah, is that, we walked that the other day, is that not on here?
That's a
on
county
another list?
project. It's a-
County
Yeah,
project?
it's a county project.
Okay, And sometimes we get those mixed up. I mean, I do.
And Zimmerman was originally on our TA list. It went for Safe Routes to School funding in 2019 and failed, and that's why it ended up back here, and we're re-looking at it.
And that can be plucked right off the list, just like some of these other projects were.
And again, none of these are ranked yet. These are our top ones that we're looking at, and we're working on a ranking system for sidewalks. And we're even talking about, with Penny for Pasco, having a block fund for sidewalks, and then we would agree upon, the county and everybody involved, how that ranking system could work. And maybe schools would be a point system that jumped it up.
Well, so let me say, with the Penny for Pasco, we've asked the county administration for projects to look at, and I had put a list of my own. I hope you guys have done the same thing for your districts, but to get those projects on the list to get funded, especially the ones that have been sitting for a long time. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I hope you're doing that to give it to staff so they can have some numbers and everything else to go put on, so the voters can see, here's what we're going to go do with the money if we get it.
Well, my understanding was we weren't putting any specific projects on there, but there was going to be a ranking system if and hopefully it gets approved. So, I mean, I don't think we should be picking, I mean, I think there should be a process for what gets approved, that it has some structure behind it. Otherwise, we're just going to be politically elbowing our way to get what we want done.
And that's up to you guys when you do that. And we can do both as far as, and again, that's a Penny for Pasco discussion, but you know, we've used block funds. I'm with Hillsborough. We used to use a block fund for sidewalk projects that come up, but then you also had that funding for specific projects, so.
Or we can each get X amount of money
Yep.
in each district, and you can spend it how you want, but we can't be, either there's got to be a way we rank projects in their importance to the county, or you can, or we divide it up, but there can't be one commissioner taking all the penny money for his district.
Well,
in
that's-
my opinion.
You know, that's where we just discussed that, you know,
Right?
schools are the, and, you know, was one of the comments I put was if it's within that 2 miles of a school, you jack up those points, you know, it would just move it up. And there's other priorities that are, you know, safety or whatever, make that your higher points so those projects can move up based on what you think you need. Again, so we're working through that process. That's nothing easy or quick. It's always been that way, but we're working on, and I just started looking at these lists and getting right away, so we're working on getting some projects done. So Ranch Road was one of them, getting it to Hanks, and then going back and looking at how we can get that next piece done. We don't end a road or sidewalk anywhere unless we're trying to move it forward some other way.
No, and I appreciate you getting that through that way, especially when it got turned down the other way. But, and as far as, if you look at the map of where all the funding's going, there's not much on the left side of Suncoast Parkway. So if you want to look at that, the west side is not getting a lot of these projects done.
Maybe you could
If
go
I
back
could, let me
10
finish.
years and we got all of it. So I don't, you know, it's,
But I'm saying now,
Back in history, the west side got most of it.
and that's where the,
East
what's,
side never was growing, which now we are growing.
right.
So that's why you see big road projects and all coming across
And,
into the
and,
east side of the county.
and needed. I mean, I voted for a lot of them to go that way as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I know where we're going, et cetera, but you've got infill projects been sitting for years, and because of certain calculations, the way someone's put a program, and all of a sudden a project that has been sitting for 16, 18 years, they get bumped back and have been bumped back for all these years. And program maintenance that we used to have in the county, every district used to get a certain amount of funds that they would direct.
I agree.
And I think for the penny, if we did that, I'm good with that. Let's allocate the money proportionally to each district. I'm good with that too. And I can balance it out. I'm good either way. But I think the previous two pennies, they all had projects listed. Matter of fact, the very first penny that had so many projects in there, when the economy dropped down, we then added about 20% more projects because we had more spending.
Yeah.
And the people loved it, and I think that helped us to go. But I think the voters are going to want to see, what are you going to get for your money?
yeah.
Where's the money going to go?
Well, yeah. Anyway, we could see how you do your scoring criteria one day again.
Hi again. I just had one clarification because I know that the discussion was just happening a few minutes ago with the Safe Routes to Schools. So the Safe Routes to Schools is a separate application from the feds, so it's more federal money. And that one goes through your school safety committee. And that's how they do the applications for that process. You guys actually have several projects that have been funded for Safe Routes to Schools for improving sidewalks around schools around the county. A couple that come to mind are funded in fiscal 26 right now that I just presented on to you guys back in the fall. There's several that are in the pipeline this year, next year, and the following years, but I just remember those two. One is Pasco Elementary over on the east side of the county, and then another one is Bexley Elementary in the central county. But those are funded in 26, but there's several other ones that are inside of the work program that have been funded through that Safe Routes to School funding amount, so that's
Trinity
another
Oaks,
option.
I think,
Yep.
on Mitchell Boulevard is,
And you guys have
They're
several that
walking
are
on
in
the
the
grass.
pipeline
Yeah.
that have been funded that way. So that's another route for federal funding, but that goes through your school safety committee through the application process that way.
I'm a little concerned because if we have new communities coming in, shouldn't they already have sidewalks implemented in their pre-application meeting?
Impact fees.
they do have to build sidewalks.
Then why are they applying for Safe Route to Schools?
Who is?
Well, Bexley's fairly newer than our older communities, and they got a Safe Route to School grant?
They did. I'm not sure what the application looked like, just because that goes from the school safety committee. So they're the ones that actually put that application together. So you'd have to look on to see what they were specifically connecting in terms of sidewalk connections.
So what point in the process, when they're doing their pre-application to construction, do they have to make sure that they're implementing sidewalks in a new community?
That would be a county answer there.
So I'm actually in that process for comments for pre-applications, and especially now, I make sure that comment is heavily weighted, that this 2 miles, that consideration needs, especially with conditions under our new MPUDs. Definitely need to have that as an important part of that 2 mile radius. And then the interconnectivity to that 2 mile radius as well. So from as an active transportation planner, my comments are very, very heavy towards that now as we move forward. Bexley, I think that was a weird gap situation. As traffic changes and growth happens, those safe routes to school kind of change with the traffic patterns, including golf carts and everything else. So I'm not sure about the Bexley one, but that might have been a gap sidewalk that happened between two developments and a previous development, which we're going to try to eliminate from happening as much as possible. But that 2 mile radius that we're kind of in right now, with the elimination of the busing, we're really going to look at with future development, making sure that the connectivity, intermodal, multimodal interconnectivity is there. And it's not just about bike ped, it's golf carts, it's everything to get people to the school safely.
Thank you. Commissioner Mariano?
One more thought on Hicks Road, as we talked about it, so it's kind of good that you're bringing it up onto MPO. We've had it in the vision plan. Being that an industrial park coming to the side of it at this point, the way things are looking right now, should this be on the list as even in the unfunded at this point?
That's one I think that we can go ahead when we do the call for projects in November, do the scoring for it, because I think we'll have a better handle on some of the aspects of the project. We know there's going to be industrial near there. That's a point category, or jobs, which is part of industrial. And so I think we'll be able to have a better picture of the project for its scoring to have it accurate.
But if we have it on the list now, even as unfunded, as we talk through the next year, and NACO conference, I said in the transportation committee coming up, to get attention to that, I don't want to miss an opportunity where maybe they'll say, you know what, we're looking for industrial stuff. They're going to say, is it on your list? We're going to say no. Can we put it on that list as unfunded? And any detriment to doing that to the rest of the projects?
We could add it to the bottom of the list, and that way we could
At
make
least it's
that
recorded.
claim. It's
And
on
if
the
we get-
list.
And we get federal funding for it, so be it.
And then we could look at scoring it in the upcoming round.
Okay.
And then see where it comes in the numerical ranking.
All right. I'm going to make a motion as we go forward to add Hicks Road connection from New York Avenue to Bolton Avenue to the unfunded list.
I'll second.
First and second, roll call vote. we
Because
gonna
it
amend
is a
it to
list
the-
of project priorities, I would appreciate a roll call vote. Yes, please.
So should that be, no, with that motion just added on to the total vote?
If you would like, we could do that.
What makes one
All right, so let me retract the motion then.
connection?
Okay with the seconder? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna approve the list presented by staff and also add in on the unfunded list, Hicks Road from New York Avenue to
Is that a
Bolton Avenue.
sidewalk?
No,
Is
it's
that
a road. No, it's a road.
Okay, so I have a question. What makes one a federal funded road and one not a federal funded road? What's,
Yes, so that has to do with classification of the roadway. Roadways are broken into interstate, arterial, collector,
So that's-
and local roads.
okay,
Collector roads up to interstate roads are eligible for federal funding. Local roads are not eligible for federal funding, with one minor exception, that is if it's funded with safety funds. So largely, we can say local roads are not eligible for this list for federal funding.
okay.
Is Ranch Road, though, going to be moved up to the priority list? Or is it
So
gonna stay
Ranch,
on
the
un-
first part of Ranch Road's funded. The Ranch Road 2 is gonna be separately working on.
But is it going to move up to the actual list
So
instead of the
Ranch,
unfunded?
Ranch Road is a sidewalk project,
Okay.
and sidewalk projects do not go on to then this overall list.
Okay.
There's a separate list for those with the Transportation Alternatives Program.
Okay. And then Hicks Road is from where to where?
From New York Avenue to Bolton. We already got the other connections that will connect. This will connect that road all the way now from Denton all the way to 52.
Yeah, thank
Which
you
is
for
two
putting the map up,
arterials.
because I have no idea where those are.
And for clarification, Ranch and Zimmerman are both just sidewalk projects from what I
Yes.
can understand, right? Okay.
Okay, where is it on there?
This whole list is sidewalks.
So that is not a local road, Hicks. That's a major road,
Yeah, if
like
you-
Little Road and,
Yeah, if you look where the arrow is, kind of like see Savannah right there, down below Hicks Road, coming from State Road 52, which is where we put the sidewalk in, et cetera, it runs all the way up to there, and then it takes a left turn. Hicks Road, as you see, it goes up to the north, it's just kind of like listed out, it's not built yet, all the way to the end of the, maybe you went too far.
okay, so it goes from Denton
Bolton?
Yeah, so from Bolton down to New York Ave is where it's gonna go.
out there.
And if you see all that over there, see all the dirt bikes in there?
Horrible.
Right.
That,
You-
I'm sorry.
Is
So
that
the-
not a
so the-
road?
So the industrial, it's not a road yet.
Oh.
So to the right side, that industrial park that's in there, everything's been dug out there. I don't see any ponding in there. But whatever we need to do to make that road built, the developer beside it will work to give us the land to go all the way through and make it connected.
And then to connect the two gaps that are in there as well?
And yeah, now, exactly, now it connects the big gap, because we already did Bolton to Denton about, I would say, 10 years ago. That's the last piece to get done between sales and promotions, developers coming in and
Commissioner
out of
Oakley?
there.
Yes.
They never came to the table. Now they're coming to the table.
I just
Now-
had a question. Jackie, the motion you made to add that road in with this second list, I guess we're voting on,
Mhm.
that road's not funded by federal, so should it be part of that?
Well, if we put it in the list, we can help it get to the federal attention. I mean, keep in mind, we're gonna look at it, putting AM skills up there as well
Shouldn't
as
that be a
industrial.
separate motion though? I mean, from that, it shouldn't be the same.
Oh, I don't care how we do it. I was gonna say, if we could-
I was just thinking that if you were voting in on something that was federally funded, that road's not qualified to get federal funding, so it's
Mr. Carl, how would you like to
kind
do
of
that?
strange.
So,
So, I have one other question. Does one person own that whole piece of property to the right? And isn't it usually the developer's responsibility to put in the infrastructure? Or are they gonna, will be reimbursed through mobility fees and impact fees to put this road through for the future?
the industrial land doesn't have to pay any impact fees. What I'm gonna try to do is try to get the funding in place for it to connect anyway. But if I can get federal money because of the industrial park connecting it, going right through it, but still part of connecting two arterials, I think it's got a good shot for, having a good look.
Mr. Carl, how would you like to do that? Separate vote or just add it to this one and amend it?
I think I'll ask, we have county attorney's representative with us today, and I don't know if there is a particular requirement either way, but one or two motions, sir. to approve the project list priority and to add an item to it. Should that be merged into one?
Add the item by one vote and then approve the project list.
Which is what we originally did, I think.
That's always
Yeah, so back to the original way. Go,
So we'll pull back to the right, so the original motion will be to add Hicks Road from New York Avenue to Bolton Avenue to the unfunded list.
And I renew my second on that.
All right, we have a first and a second. We're gonna get the roll, call the roll.
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey,
Well, I'm kind of thinking of what Christina said, actually, but, I wish I'd, oh, aye, whatever.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
All right.
And
So-
just because it's
Commissioner?
on the list, it's not funded yet. So if a developer was supposed to, were to come in, then they could still,
Do it and get
Put it
impact fee
in.
credits.
if it
Okay.
was not industrial.
Right, because it may take a long time for this to get funded. Right.
Anyone else on this one? Going to approve the MPO list of project priorities? I get a motion?
Motion
Move
to
to-
approve.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, on to number 3 on our list, approval of a new member to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Mr. Mitchell? No?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Tina Russo, active transportation planner for Pasco MPO, also the staff member that oversees the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. We have a new member that we would like to vote in. Daisha is, like I said previously, runs the Spoke, the new beautiful facility in Dade City. We've had a couple events already out there. I'm very excited that she wants to join the team because she can really add some different things to the group. You voted in Jeff Lanier last month. He's a bike shop owner, been here for several years. So we're actually developing a really, really good group of folks, and excited about that. I'm gonna have Daisha come up and say anything she would like to say, or if you have any questions, and we'll go from there.
Good morning, Commissioners and members of the board. I just wanted to say thank you for the consideration, and if you have any questions for me.
Nope, I'm not a member of the committee, but I go there all the time. So, not so much when they're in Dade City, but, so you'll see me at them. And look forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, I get a motion to approve, move approval?
Second.
Call the vote?
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
All righty, thank you. Thank you for serving, Daisha. All right. Let's go Pasco. Mr.
Morning,
Flaherty?
James Flaherty,
How are you?
Interim Director, Go Pasco. How's it going this morning?
Good.
Since our last MPO meeting, we haven't had a tremendous amount of change in Go Pasco. I'm still the interim director. Interviews will start next month for the establishment of the actual director, whomever that may be. We're still projecting between 500 and 550,000 trips on our fixed route this year across the county. We're also projecting about 40 to 42,000 paratransit trips. Both of those are, if we exceed 550,000, that's what we did last year on our fixed route. If the trend over the last 3 months, which is 48,800 trips per month, we will actually exceed FY21's numbers for fixed route trips, which is a good. That means we're moving in the right direction. For paratransit, anything over 39,000 will be increase over last year. So we're projecting we're going to be right around 41,800 trips, somewhere in that ballpark. So looking like we're moving in the right direction. We're still utilizing the county's billboards. They just put them up, I believe, last week to build up our ridership. And I think there's 3 to 5 locations that those billboards are being put up. They're digital marketing ads. Any questions?
Well, I wanted to show you something. I just sent the picture to Carl. Sorry, I texted it to you. I didn't know who to send it to. I passed this the other day when we had that rainstorm that kind of had some tornadoes in it that destroyed my umbrella on my dock. It's the bus stop at 54 and Little,
Okay.
and it was pouring rain. And I have an older gentleman with a walker, you know, one of those things with the oxygen thing in it, sitting at the bus stop.
Is that right in front of the bank?
It's in front of the, it's a new gas station now. It's the Rebel. It's in front of the Walmart.
In front of Walmart, okay.
There's a lot of people, 1, 2, 3, 4 standing, maybe 3 standing in line there, in the pouring rain. So it seems to me if that's a busy stop, 54 and Little, we should get a covered. I'd like to see if we could find the money for a covered bus stop there.
We could take a look at that. A majority of the people who are using that intersection actually ride the bus over to Trinity Hospital, and we have a shelter over there. That's generally because they can transfer to the 54 bus and the 23 bus, but I could absolutely look at it.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking, and there's all these people in there in the rain.
Yeah, with a Walmart being
one of
there,
them's-
it stands
yeah.
to reason that it's going to be a more popular stop. So we'll take a look at it for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is there any update on the microtransit for the feasibility study?
So from the information that I got from the MPO, I guess it was brought to the board to try and see if we wanted to do a study regarding microtransit. We never conducted a study for microtransit. And somebody had come in front of the board and provided like almost a sales pitch as to how they can provide a study for microtransit in the area. It was going to cost somewhere in the ballpark of $15,000. That's the information that I have received.
Okay, so Dave Engel there was a Ford grant to do a study, to do a micro mobility study.
Project, yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned this at the last MPO meeting. Did I mention about my trip to ULI in San Diego?
With the scooters and everything else.
Yeah, and they had Fred, free rides for everyone. I don't remember what the D stood for. And I was just in Key Biscayne for my mom's celebration of life. They also have micromobility, free rides for everybody. It's an app. You just call and they come pick you up and they take you to wherever you want to go in the community. And I just think we need to get with the times. And I think Dave Engels just sent me an article where one of the other counties just started implementing this. So I really want to get moving on this. It's cheaper. It's great for our citizens. We don't have a head of this department. You're just acting, so I get that's tough on you. But I think this board really wants to look at micromobility, and I'd like to figure out how we can get moving on it.
Now, are you asking micromobility as in?
Well, this ability to have someone come pick you up within a district and take you wherever you want to go.
Okay, so microtransit.
Microtransit.
Okay.
Microtransit.
So microtransit, is there a specific area that we would like to focus?
When we first started, we were looking in the Holiday area, and then he switched it to the Dade City area. I don't know what area. There must be a reason why you pick somewhere, but
I have an
let's
area in
get
mind.
somewhere going.
I have an area in mind. It's actually on the east side of the county. It's Crystal Springs. So Crystal Springs doesn't have any transportation going down to them. The furthest, it's north of, so Crystal Springs is along 301.
Where are they trying to go?
So they're trying to get up to Zephyr Hills. And
They'd
they're,
be coming up 39.
sorry?
They'd be coming up 39 to Chauncey or to 301.
Correct, yep, right in that area. So I was thinking if we could potentially make an internal proposal, do a slight study, see what we can do, utilize one of maybe our smaller paratransit buses, do something like you're saying with either zones or specific stop locations, and then have them go be able to call within a window, maybe a day or so in advance, and then we'll get them a ride into the Zephyr Hills area or connect them to either the 54 route or the 30 route.
So is that a rural area?
Very.
Yeah, so what I've seen this, it's been in urban areas. So, but, maybe there's two kinds. So, more urban areas. I'm game for whatever you guys think,
And-
but,
This area doesn't have any transportation, a lot
At
of,
okay,
poor individuals that live out that way don't have way to go from
Yeah.
place to place, so they need that transportation.
so do we have 15,000? Because that doesn't seem like that much to me.
I'll have to look into the budget to see where we can squeeze it out. But the thing is, if we,
Maybe we can ask David Engel too, if there's grants still available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
so we can look at it internal as a staff and not have to necessarily spend the 15,000 to have a contractor come out and do something along those lines. It's,
Yeah?
if you would prefer that, I could try and get something together by the,
Yeah, I
you know,
mean,
maybe
those
not the
apps
next
are already
board
out
or-
there.
But the following board.
Yeah. And maybe maybe you have the ability with whatever it is that you have already. I have a better picture, but there's part of the line of people in the pouring rain, waiting for the bus there, so.
And Chairman?
Yes.
So I've heard from people that live in the embassy area, that they've removed bus routes in that area. So I think that would be a good area to look at the microtransit as well.
So we haven't removed it on a permanent basis. Right now, we are so short on bus drivers that we had to adjust our routes. And part of the adjustment is now we're servicing along Little Road north of Embassy up to 52. Instead, we previously would turn down and go west on Embassy to the mall. Right now, we've temporarily suspended that until we can refulfill all the positions that we need, and then we will get that transportation going back again.
And then that's where it would be great to have the microtransit. Now, do they just pick them up and bring them to a bus stop? Or do they actually bring them where their end destination?
It would depend. You could do like a first mile, last mile, where you can only get picked up from your home or a business, and then we bring you to a bus stop. So it's within a mile or so. The other thing you could do is actually set up zones and areas of influence, if you will, and then we could say, okay, if you can get to this Walmart here at 2 o'clock, we'll pick you up and we'll bring you back to a spot that's near your home. It just depends on what area you're focusing on, what method you would like to do. Something like Embassy, that would be first mile, last mile. And that, because we have the 19 that's within a mile or 2 miles, you have the 23 on Little Road, you have service on Ridge Road, and then we have service on 52.
Right.
But if you implement it on Embassy, once you implement it, we may be back to full operations, and then you have a bus going up and down Embassy anyway, so you'd almost be creating a moot point.
And do the bus drivers let the people with walkers and oxygen tanks, do they let them know about the paratransit services? Because the paratransit can pick them up from their door and bring them directly to the hospital.
So there's qualifications that go along with that. Just because you have a walker or
And an oxygen tank.
does not qualify you specifically. That's not a qualifier.
Right.
Age, income level, if they are actually ADA,
And the doctor can sign off on
and the
it.
doctor would have to sign off on them. But when we see people like that, we offer them the opportunity to call in, receive the packet for the application, then we see what kind of funding source that we could apply to them if they're qualified.
Mr. Mariano?
Yeah, I think this microtransit started out to be something that was going to be in a concentrated area, not a rural area. So if you're going to do the last mile, from a place 5-6 miles away is not going to work, to make this transport work. If you want to put a separate shuttle in for someone from some area to another area, that's a different thing, and maybe even a stopgap that just got cut out to work. But I think it is concentrated areas that are going to work a lot better in an urban setting. So maybe we should go take a look at what they're doing in San Diego, what they're doing in Miami. If there's a rural area that's doing something like that as well, and take a look, because all these trips, it's all expensive. It's going to add up to cost, so you got to find out what's going to be the best value for it to go forward. Now, I think looking at that, if you guys can do that without spending any of your extra money, but if you can go study and take a look and bring some recommendations back, show us what the cost numbers are, how much they spend it in Miami, how much they spend in San Francisco. I know in West Palm Beach, they had this whole giant area, commercial district that they put in, hotels, restaurants, et cetera. FAC went there a few years ago, and they've got a shuttle that's right there that just goes for free, kind of like what you guys are set up now. That type of thing may work better, especially down in Port Richey when parking's an issue. And getting across from New Port Richey to there, as we work on this Crush Bayou project, it may be a great start to kind of get people going, used to that travel.
That was kind of my thought too. I thought it was, kind of designed for a more compact area or concentrated area with population. Not saying that like your area they're talking about where need to be connected, that might be, a part of it too, or a whole different, situation for that, just getting them access. But I want to back it up a little bit because I'm, kind of confused. I thought there was already money set aside for microtransit from a grant,
I thought so too.
and the feasibility study was supposed to be for saying, hey, where would it best fit in the county? So again, back to, there should be money already
Because
for
we
that.
approved that
Yeah,
study like 2 years ago.
yeah.
If there was a specific grant for microtransit, I'm not familiar with it. It's not on our budget. I have 5307 federal funds, I have 5310 funds, state funds, but we have planning funds, but I don't have anything specifically for a microtransit project as a grant that I'm tracking and managing. Now,
Okay.
again, I fell in on this, so I don't have all the
Yeah, no, I
data.
understand that.
But that being said, when I look at the grants that I manage,
Where's the other guy? Because I know we talked about it.
I know it, we
I know
absolutely
we talked
did.
about it. And so I'm like so
I
confused
mean,
now.
I'm going to talk to David about what happened.
Yeah, maybe David Engel can
that's
get a
possible. It
conversation
may
going
be
with
in
them.
the EDC that they have the grant, but we don't, and maybe we could utilize it, or we're the ones who actually implement the study while they have the funding for it. That part I'm not familiar.
Yeah, my understanding, it was millions. It was, it was a big pot of money. So that's why I'm so confused here as to what's happening.
And I wanted to touch on something.
Go ahead, Mayor.
And if I may, I know that Commissioner Mariano touched on some of the transportation and parking issues in our concentrated area. We're in the middle of redevelopment, and one of the issues that's come up is we own a little piece of property where we'll have an Uber station, bus stop, so on and so forth. And Newport Richey's got a garage over there that's not normally full. So one of the things that I'm in the process of doing is reaching out to Newport Richey to see if people park over there, if there can be transit between their garage and in our area to get people across safely on 19. So that's one of the things I was looking at. So I wanted to kind of touch on that issue because those are some of the things that we've contemplated in terms of transportation. We also used some of our CRA monies to purchase the property, which I think will ultimately be a lot down there. So there'll be some additional city parking as well. So those are some of the things that we've done to address the parking and the situation down in our waterfront area with all the businesses down there.
Which lot did you buy?
We bought, well, it was zoned residential, which is one of the reasons we bought it, is just to repurpose the land. But there were some old homes, 2 old homes that were built in the 50s, and they're on the corner of Old Post, kind of behind Treadway, right next to Whiskey Joe's lot,
Okay.
adjacent to that. And I think it's about a 0.4 acres, so we can put I think we're ultimately going to put a nice lot in there. So that's been part of our discussions.
Was that the casino lot?
No, that's across the street from the casino lot, but next to Whiskey Joe's.
Oh.
And then also we have, as part of the redevelopment, some multi-use paths, but also some parallel parking and angled parking too, so we'll have some additional parking there as well.
All right, any more questions for Mr. Flaherty?
All right,
Thank
for
you,
your time.
sir. I know you kind of get beat up at times, but,
All right, that's
but
what I'm here
welcome to
for.
the show, you know?
Thank you.
All right, we have a presentation on US 41 State Road 54 intersection, history and update.
Good morning, everybody. Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. Unfortunately, we're not ready to give the US 41 at State Road 54 update. We're still doing some evaluation of our concepts to ensure that we are maximizing pedestrian safety and those traffic improvements that are needed at that intersection. So I've asked Carl if we could push this off to August, your next board meeting, so that we can come back to you with a fully fleshed out concepts and recommendation and get your opinion on that instead of presenting you to guys something that you've already seen before. So apologize for that, but
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next time, then.
all right.
Oh, so you're not doing it?
Yeah, they're gonna come back.
Okay.
Um,
Trying to get past.
On to other business. The MPO conference is taking place in Minneapolis on October 24th. Do you want to talk about this at all, Mr. Call? Okay.
Sure, I just wanted to put on everyone's radar and calendars if there's an interest. The AMPO, Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, which is the national organization of MPOs, is holding their conference the week of October 24th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We do not have funding for members to attend, but however, if you do have budget and would like to attend, we want to make you aware of this so you can put it on your calendars. Thank you.
Thank you. Would FDOT like the opportunity to share any updates, or you good? I know you're just up here, so. Okay. All right, thank you. Any comments from the members?
Is that all mine?
Well, I would just like to mention on the AMPO, that was a really interesting conference. I did learn a lot, and I've even brought back information when I've talked to Area Agency on Aging, and they informed me that they actually fund some of the projects that they do in Tempe, Arizona. They fund those projects here, such as pest control and things like that. But there was just a lot of additional tours, and it was a really interesting conference. And if you can go, I would suggest that you attend.
What kind of transit does Minneapolis have?
I do not know, given the size of the metropolitan area, I would have to imagine they've got a transit system that's fairly robust, but
Now,
I
I'm wondering
couldn't
if they have light rail, I know they have a lot of bike trails. Yeah, that's a city that's on my radar. That was,
Snow trails, too.
Huh?
Snow trails, I'm sure, too.
I think they have like a indoor underground mall or something
Oh, yeah.
there. I
I
don't
had
know.
an old business item too.
Oh, okay, good, good, Mayor.
And it was directed at Carl. One of the issues that we have is sometimes I can't attend, and I know that other cities have alternatives. That's coming up, I think, for discussion on our council meeting. I couldn't find any direction locally. At the state level, it looks like they normally have 2 alternatives within each city or jurisdiction. And I didn't know if that's what we do here locally, because I couldn't find any local rules on it.
If I recall our bylaws correctly, you can have multiple alternates, but you must rank them in order.
Okay.
So alternate 1, alternate 2, so forth.
And the only other qualification is that they're an elected official, i.e. my mayor, vice mayor, or council person.
That is correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Starkey?
Yeah, I just did want to make sure everyone saw that the governor vetoed both funding sources for T-BARTA. One was the one where we, we're all paying based on our population now to be a member of T-BARTA, where before it was just kind of loosey-goosey, kind of like what you do at the Regional Planning Council, kind of the same formula, but less. And our thought was, well, we get the state to match that, and they vetoed that. And then we get, I can't remember what that other money was for. I don't know if anyone here remembers what that other funding source was. Was it the
Was it for their van pool program?
or disadvantaged or some other big program that T-BARTA managed? They vetoed. Apparently, there's a guy in the governor's office that used to work with Senator Brandeis, who doesn't like T-BARTA, who got the governor to veto everything. So I haven't had a T-BARTA meeting since, but I don't know what this means for T-BARTA. So just want to make sure you guys all heard about that. It's frustrating.
Commissioner?
And you were asking about Minnesota, so I would be interested to see what Minnesota had, because I know Arizona, they were showing us the electric vehicles, they had the drones and the vertical airports.
Yeah,
And-
vertiports.
Yes. And then also, it was really neat because we got to go and ride on the light rails and the streetcars. So I would like to see how Minnesota utilizes their light rails compared to Arizona as well.
Yeah, well, we're not a light rail community here, but Tampa should be. Tina, I think in that packet that I gave you, when I did that micro-mobility tour in San Diego, I'm hoping it's in there, and I think I sent you a picture. They have a counter. Yeah, it's so cool. And it's digital. And so when you ride your bike past this thing, it tells everybody how many people have scooted by or ridden a bike, or in my case, I rode a scooter with a seat. I don't know what you call that. But we all loved that counter, and I think there's a brochure on in there. Yeah, that's it.
Anybody else have any comments or anything? We good? All right, our next meeting's gonna be Thursday, August 11th in Dade City. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right. Thank you.